What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of The Creatures, and more from their 1983 album Feast. Thank you as always to Nicola, as well as to those who've given me a lot of context for this album, that it was made in Hawaii with the peoples and natural ambiance and instruments that were in that environment. So yes, the next track is Ice House, which I'm guessing there's no connection to the Australian band Ice House. I think they started as Flowers, but I reacted to Primitive Man by them. Nevertheless, I'm guessing this refers to an ice house as a entity, whether we're talking more literally or figuratively. Now, obviously, Aleut ice houses and what are sometimes called igloos, those would not likely be in Hawaii, so I don't know if this does in fact relate to like an indigenous dwelling, but that would be my initial thought without any further context. So yes, I don't quite know what to make of it. Of course, it gives you an image as well as a temperature, so to speak, but I don't know if this will be figurative in a way that relates to, someone's heart being an ice house, or their head, or something where it's figurative in relation to a person and or their feelings. I'll see what I can catch on the first listen. This is The Creatures. The track is Ice House, and it's from their 1983 album Feast.
The ice house preserves with incestuous flowers. The nightly perfume overpowers me. The demons kiss, entwined devouring. The heart will melt whilst the ice remains.
Wow. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what that crunching was at the end. Of course, ice can crack and crunch. And starting with the sonics, it was a very entrancing tune, meaning it had this tribal type of rhythm, sounding like the kind of chant with drums where you might get your mind into a trance. I enjoyed Susie's echoed, expansive vocals. They had a very cavernous type of sound to them. And the relative simplicity or austerity of the composition really did have me focused on her vocals and the lyrics. And it's interesting because, like, as I started the track, my brain was like, oh, like, I didn't mention the idea of an ice house being something where food or even people can be preserved, meaning in extremely cold conditions things don't rot or break down in the way that they would in warmer temperatures. And of course there is an alternative to, what's the right word, like modern refrigeration, which is like more traditional forms of food preservation and so on. So like as the track started, I was thinking like, oh, that was one possibility that I didn't consider. And I think maybe that's part of what's happening here, because she talks right away about something being preserved, and then she's talking about a fragrant flower, a scent, which is interesting because I was thinking ice house, and I think they started as flowers, and it's like, oh wait, like that sounds like it could be a reference. Again, I don't think it is, but the point is, she then seemed to draw a distinction, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This is a religious phrase, and I think part of a prayer. I don't know if it goes back to scripture. I'm showing my distance from my Catholic upbringing. Nevertheless, the point is, there are references to what could be done with a person. Again, cremation or someone disintegrating into dust once again. And then the idea that that's not what's happening here. Something or someone can be preserved in this ice house. You close the door and you sort of enclose it in this space. But then she seemed to also make a reference to one of the metaphorical ideas I had about a heart being maybe an ice house. But she was saying like the heart can, was it thaw or otherwise melt away, but the ice will remain. So I wondered again if we're talking about preserving a body, or if we're on a figurative level and where, a heart could be frozen, but then it could warm again and the ice would somehow remain. So there are little tidbits here and there that I was intrigued by and wondering sort of what level they were functioning on. But definitely there were multiple references to this fragrance, to this flower that might be in some way intoxicating or at least arresting and significant. So yeah, I don't really know what's happening here. Luca, what are you doing? I don't know if you can you hear? But yes, ultimately I was intrigued by the different scenes. It felt less like full narrative in time and more like snapshots or snippets of something, like visual imagery, maybe related to, again, the preservation of a scent, an experience or an emotional condition, or even for a body that is not going to be cremated or buried in a more, let's say, traditional way. And obviously tradition depends on where you are. But yeah, a really interesting tune, one that again has a bit of a tribal atmosphere, as I was saying. So knowing what I now do about the album and the way it was recorded and where it was recorded, that is less surprising. But it's definitely standing out on this album, this, in the jungle, in the natural environments of humanity, but maybe with cognitive and spiritual enhancements that allow for perception that exceeds that of the everyday or the humdrum. So yeah, just a really crazy tune. Interested to hear what people have to say about this one. Let me know, and I will see you next time. Peace.